Io mi chiamo Paolo Solustri, lavoro per il Torino Calcio, siamo in Serie A. Con Omegawave noi facciamo delle valutazioni dei giocatori che possono essere 2-3 volte alla settimana, mediamente 2 volte alla settimana, e le valutazioni vengono fatte presso il nostro centro sportivo, quindi i giocatori arrivano all'allenamento e vengono testati prima dell'allenamento. E questo è avvenuto da loro stessi, nel senso che inizialmente molti giocatori erano un po' scettici, pensavano che queste fossero valutazioni inutili o poco utili. Con l'andare del tempo loro hanno capito ed apprezzato quello che veniva valutato, perché riscontravano le loro sensazioni nella valutazione di Omegawave. Diciamo, non cambiamo completamente il nostro piano di allenamento, ma lo adattiamo a quelle che sono le situazioni dei giocatori al momento. Quindi regoliamo i volumi, regoliamo le intensità di lavoro e ci adattiamo i recuperi in funzione di quelle che sono le indicazioni di Omegawave. Credo che l'aspetto importante sia la valutazione corretta del recupero. La valutazione corretta del recupero è diciamo un grosso aiuto nella valutazione dei carichi di lavoro, in quello che viene proposto ai giocatori.
I'm Terry Peters, I'm the performance manager here at Vitesse. Well, it was a bit of a job last season, because when something is new, especially with football players, that's what I experienced after working with multiple kind of athletes, is that they find it pretty difficult to do something at home after waking up and make a routine out of this. So we changed things around this season, which makes it pretty easy for them. Because before when we train at 10:15, we always meet in the dressing room at 9:30, where the coach presents, okay, this is what we're going to do. Okay. And so after they arrive at the club, the first thing they do is doing the measurement. So we do everything over here. Okay. We got a rest or a room with beds, and over there are 2 full-time employees who are working with us. Well, it's funny because in the beginning it was also for coaches something where they were not familiar with, but the more they experience the system, the more they appreciate it. And now when I don't deliver them the data or the feedback, they're asking for it. So because we are working, that's I think an important note for this club, is that we're working with an extremely young team. Okay. We have a player, for example, he plays every weekend for us in the first team, and he's just 1 month, 18 years old. So it's really important for us to understand, is he adapting or is he surviving? Last week, this is the interland period, and last week in the Dutch media there was a lot of things said about our club, because we decided to give 3 young players 4 days off, where other teams and players keep pushing in those weeks, but we were looking at the long-term developments, and we saw a decrease, and because all 3 of them are extremely explosive, extremely young, 18 years old, and playing everything on first team level. So we gave them off, where other coaches are still pushing their young players because they're young and they have to learn so much more.
So the first day back in after the game is the day then which will collect or take all of our monitoring markers from a physiological and subjective point of view, and we're just, like I said, trying to piece together the puzzle to show exactly where each player is at that given time point before we start the training week. There's a series of things that the player has to complete at any given point during the morning. So each player or a group of players will be given a time slot, and at that time slot the first protocol will be Omegawave, blood markers, wellness, saliva, go through all of your monitoring markers, and then they'll be with the medical therapist for whatever the emphasis is on that given day. 2 things. Number 1, speed of process. The quicker it is, the more efficient it is, the more buy-in you're going to get from the athlete. The second is consistency of application. So if you implement something, be consistent with it. Make sure it's always done. Make sure that the athlete knows this is important, and they know it's important because you're always doing it. And they're the 2 key things. As soon as an athlete, any sport, believes that it's part of an important process, you receive buy-in. With monitoring markers, sometimes it's difficult because one of the most important things is education. And sometimes you can't disclose everything because you don't want to tell a player actually going into this game, you're in a bad place. But being open and having good conversations will always increase. I think it's a really valuable tool. Like I said, we try and use it in two circumstances. One, to profile the recovery curve after maximal exertion. And that's really interesting to know because it can give you a real insight into the preparedness of the player before that match. So it might not be that what they've done in the game is remarkable. It might be where they were prior to the match. So that gives us good information as conditioning staff to know, okay, well, actually this player needs work on X, Y, and Z. Second way is as an ongoing monitoring system when we're getting a lot of information back or a lot of amber or red lights of an individual. And that basically gives us more information to tell us, okay, in this intervention we're doing now, are they now responding well to what we're trying to put in place?
At this moment we use the Omegawave system a lot for our young players and for new players, so the unfamiliar players in our club. And some of the players we measure them daily when they are at the club in the club situations, and some of the players who we know a little bit better, then it's maybe 2 times a week, sometimes 1 time a week, depending on the competition schedule. But that's basically how we start with it at this moment. I think it's more about educating them. So tell them really what's the purpose about it, so that they really buy into it. I think that's very important. And if they're, you need to give them always the feedback, because they are really interesting in, of course, their own perspectives. And so we are educating them. And I think that's the only way, if you really educate them, then they're open also to do the tests, and that's really helping out. I think it's about really understanding what the body is about. And I think a lot of young athletes don't have that understanding yet. So they know it's somewhere, they know it's a connection with the brain and performance and stress, but they don't actually have the insight. So we really want to start from the beginning, and we have like a study education program. And basically what we want in there is everything. So we want them to learn about how this physiology works. What is stress? What is the influence from nutrition on stress? What is its sleep? So we want to really give the whole package, and I think that's really what they need to understand. Same as coaches, we are educated as well. So I think it's the players should be the same way educated, basically like coaches. They are their own coaches at the end. Because you already mentioned it by yourself. I think it's all subjective. And I think, subjectives are good for a certain level of sports, but when you are working with elite players, it's not only about subjectives. You need objectives. You need objectives for yourself as a coach to make the best interventions. Objectives to have good discussions with our head coach. We need objectives to everybody, to the board of directors. We need to convince people. And the best way to do that is, I think, with objectives and not only by feeling or just only by experience.